They laughed at the widow, 3 armed men. One woman with an old rifle, the kind of mismatch that should have ended one way, but 10 seconds later only one person was still standing. And it wasn't who Red Hollow expected. Nobody knew her name that morning. By sunset, they would never forget her face. The question wasn't how she did it. Anyone can pull a trigger. The question was who had taught her to read wind like that, to stand that still. To wait that long. Some say her husband taught her before he died. Others say she was born knowing it. But the truth? The truth is darker than either. This is the story of how Red Hollow learned its most expensive lesson. And it starts with a wagon. Not a gunslinger's horse, a wagon. The sun had been working on Red Hollow for years. You could see it in the wood, bleached white in some places, cracked grey in others. The kind of slow death that takes time. No river ran through town, no railroad either. Just a dirt road leading somewhere else. And most people wished they were on it. The buildings leaned, not dramatically, just enough to notice if you looked closely. Like men too tired to stand straight anymore, porches sagged, doors hung crooked, windows stayed closed even in summer heat. Red Hollow wasn't dying because it had to. It was dying because nobody cared enough. Barrett Crow had made sure of that, not through violence alone, though there was plenty of that through control. Trade moved through him. Debt belonged to him entirely. Fear answered to him. And the most dangerous part was simple enough. He didn't even need to be there most days. People remembered. That was enough to keep them quiet. The sheriff still wore a badge. But it had stopped meaning anything long ago. Around the time Crow decided it should, law out here wasn't written on paper. It was written in memory instead, in what happened to people who forgot their place. At the center of town sat the Silver Dollar Saloon. Not as comfort, as a reminder. Money changed hands there. Promises broke there too, and sometimes men walked in but didn't walk back out. The general store belonged to Elias Turner. Or it used to anyway. Now it just existed. Half empty, half forgotten entirely. The kind of place people visited when they had no other choice. Elias sat outside most mornings. Not because he enjoyed it particularly, because sitting still was easier than thinking too hard about the past. His hands had developed a tremor over the years. Not from age exactly, from carrying something too heavy for too long. That's where he was when the wagon appeared on the horizon. Dust rose behind it, slow, steady rhythm. Not the cloud of someone running away, just the mark of distance travelled, the kind of dust that said something. I've been on the road a while. Elias squinted against the harsh sunlight. Wagon, not a rider on horseback. That was the first thing that seemed wrong to him. Out here wagons meant merchants, settlers passing through, people going somewhere better ultimately. But something about this one didn't sit right with him. The pace was too measured, too deliberate, too knowing. Like the driver knew exactly where they were going already, the wagon rolled into town around mid-morning. A few people glanced up briefly. Not many, though. Strangers came through sometimes. Most left quickly after understanding Red Hollow. The driver pulled the wagon to a stop near the store. Dust settled slowly around the wheels. The horse stood quiet, a brown-spotted mare. Well-trained, patient, waiting without complaint. Then the driver climbed down from the seat. She moved carefully, not weak exactly. Just cautious about her surroundings, like someone who had learned to be aware of everything. A woman in a black dress, weathered from long travel. A shawl pulled over her shoulders despite the oppressive heat. She looked like any other widow the frontier had made. Thin, tired. Alone in the world. That's what Red Hollow saw. That's what they wanted to see clearly. But Elias noticed something else entirely. The way she paused before stepping down. The way her eyes moved across the street before touching ground, checking windows, doors, shadows. Every possible angle of approach. That wasn't grief. That was training. Military or something close to it. She tied the horse to the post outside his store. Didn't look at him. Didn't acknowledge anyone watching her carefully. Just moved with quiet purpose toward the door. Elias stood. His chair creaked. His hands didn't shake for once. The woman pushed the door open. A bell chimed above, small, tinny, the kind of sound that used to mean customers. Now it jarred, marked time passing slowly. Inside, the store smelled like old wood and accumulated dust, shelves half stocked. Some items hadn't moved in months now, a few cans. Some flour, tobacco, whiskey. The basics only. She walked to the counter, still hadn't looked at him directly, just scanned the shelves. Her face gave nothing away at all. Elias stepped inside behind her. The door closed. Bell chimed again. "Can I help you?" he asked. His voice came out rougher than intended. She turned then, looked at him fully for the first time. Her eyes were brown, dark, and completely steady without wavering, not sad, not angry, just present, measuring him, calculating something he couldn't see. Supplies, she said. Her voice was quiet, even, controlled completely, enough for a week. Passing through. Elias asked the obvious question. Maybe. She didn't elaborate. That told him something too. People passing through talked. They complained about the road conditions, the heat, the lack of water. They filled silence because silence felt dangerous. This woman didn't fill silence at all. Elias began gathering items. Beans, salt, coffee, basic staples. She watched him work. Didn't help. Didn't rush him either. Just observed everything he did. Town's quiet, she said after a long while. It is, Elias confirmed simply. Always like this? She asked. Elias paused. Set down a tin of beans carefully. Mostly, he said. She nodded, like she'd expected that exact answer. Who runs things here? She asked, and there it was. The question everyone asked eventually, the one that separated travellers from people with real intent. Elias met her eyes. Man named Barrett Crow. He here now? She asked. Comes and goes, Elias said. She absorbed that. No reaction. Just filed it away mentally. What kind of man is he? She asked. Elias considered lying, saying something safe, something that wouldn't cause trouble. But something in her gaze made him tired of safe answers, the kind you don't cross. Not if you want to keep breathing. I see, she said, like she'd heard about men like that before, like they weren't new to her at all. Elias finished packing the supplies into a canvas sack, set it on the counter. She paid. Exact amount. No haggling whatsoever. No small talk either. As she turned to leave, Elias spoke again quickly. You got a name? He asked. She stopped, didn't turn around. Just stood there with the sack. Not yet, she said quietly. Then she walked out into the bright sunlight. By late afternoon the heat had settled into everything, the kind of dry, heavy air that made breathing feel difficult. Shadows stretched long across the dirt street. The woman had returned to her wagon. Sat on the driver's seat, not doing anything, just sitting, watching, taking everything in. A few people passed, gave her glances, moved on quickly. Widows weren't unusual out here. The frontier made them regularly enough. Then the sound of horses, 3 of them approaching fast. They came from the south end of town, riding slow, confident, the kind of slow that said something clear. We own this place, 3 men, all armed, all young enough to think themselves immortal. Jake rode in front, tall, broad-shouldered, heavily built. The kind of man who'd learned early that size usually won arguments. He had a revolver on each hip. Wore them like decorations. Behind him rode Morrow and Trent. Smaller, meaner looking, the kind who followed someone like Jake because alone they weren't much. They worked for Barrett Crow. Everyone knew it immediately, and that meant they could do what they wanted, within reason, and sometimes beyond it entirely. Jake saw the wagon first, saw the woman sitting there, his eyes narrowed. Then he smiled. That smile meant trouble. It always did. He pulled his horse to a stop near the wagon. Morrow and Trent flanked him, creating a wall, blocking her in. Well now, Jake said. His voice carried, loud enough for everyone. Looks like Red Hollow's getting visitors today. The woman didn't respond, didn't look up, just sat there quietly. That bothered Jake. He was used to reactions. Fear, respect, something, ma'am, he said louder now. Talking to you. She looked up then, slowly, met his eyes directly. Her face remained blank, no fear, no anger. Nothing he could read, I heard, she said simply. Jake's smile widened. You need help with that wagon there? Looks heavy for a woman alone. I'm fine, she said. You sure? We could unload it for you nicely. Make sure nothing's too much trouble for you. Morrow laughed, high-pitched, nervous energy looking for any release. The woman's eyes shifted to him. Then back to Jake. I said, I'm fine, she repeated. Now that's not very friendly, Jake said. He dismounted, slow, deliberate, walked toward the wagon menacingly. We're just trying to be neighborly. Help out a lady in need, he said. Lady, like it was a joke somehow, like the word itself was funny to him. The woman set down the cloth she'd been holding, placed it carefully on the wagon seat. Then she stood up, not aggressive, just ready for whatever came next. Jake noticed. It made him pause, just for a second, because women out here didn't stand like that usually. They backed down. They apologized. They made themselves smaller intentionally. This one didn't. You got a problem with help? Jake asked. His tone shifted. Less friendly now. More edge to it. No, she said. I have a problem with men who call it help, when it's not. Silence. Brief. Sharp as a knife. Morrow and Trent exchanged glances. This wasn't going the usual way. Jake's jaw tightened. You got a mouth on you. I got a lot of things, she said. Yeah? Jake stepped closer. Like what exactly? Before she could answer, a door opened. Elias stepped out, his face pale, hands shaking again. Jake, he said, voice thin. She's just passing through here. No trouble. Jake didn't even look at him. Wasn't asking you, old man. Elias swallowed hard. Took another step forward anyway, please. She's just what? Jake turned now, eyes hard. You her father? Her husband? What's she to you? Elias froze. The question hung there in the air. The woman spoke. He's nothing to me, and I'm nothing to him. So whatever this is stays between you and me. Jake laughed. You got spine. I'll give you that much. He took another step. Now he was close. Too close. But out here spine don't mean much at all. If you can't back it up. She didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just looked at him steadily. And for the first time Jake felt something uncomfortable. Not fear. Not quite. But something close to it, like he was being measured. Weighed, and found wanting. You married? Jake asked. A different tactic now, more personal. Crueler, was, she said. What happened to him? Jake pressed. He died, she said flatly. Shame. Jake's smile returned. Uglier now. Must get lonely. Traveling alone. No man to keep you warm at night. Trent snickered. Morrow looked away. Even he seemed uncomfortable now. The woman's expression didn't change at all, but something in the air shifted. A coldness that hadn't been there. You should leave now, she said. Quiet. Calm. Final. Jake leaned in. Or what exactly? She met his eyes. And when she spoke, her voice was quieter, almost a whisper. But every word landed like a stone, or you'll wish you had. For a moment nobody moved at all. The street held its breath collectively. Somewhere a shutter banged. A horse stamped. Wind picked up slightly. Dust swirled between them. Jake's hand drifted toward his gun. Not drawing. Not yet. Just resting there. A reminder of what he could do. Big words, he said. From a woman with a wrapped rifle. She probably don't even know how to shoot. The woman's eyes flicked to the wagon. To the rifle there. Then back to Jake. You really want to find out? She asked. And that's when Jake made his mistake. He reached out, grabbed her arm. Not hard. Not yet. But the intent was clear, showing dominance, showing control. Listen here. She moved. Fast. Twisted her arm free. Stepped back. Creating distance. Don't, she said. One word. Final. Jake's face flushed red. Anger, now. Real anger. You threatening me? He demanded. No, she said. I'm warning you. Same thing, Jake said. Not even close, she said. Jake's hand moved to his gun. Properly now. Fingers wrapping around it. He wasn't smiling anymore. Elias tried again desperately. Please, both of you, this doesn't need... Shut up, Jake snapped. Still staring at the woman. I'm talking to her. The woman spoke. Quiet, clear. Every word deliberate. I told you once. Don't mention my husband again. Jake blinked. I didn't. You asked what happened to him. You made it dirty. That was your second mistake. Second? Jake laughed, but it sounded forced. What was the first? Thinking I was alone, she said. Jake frowned. Looked around. Street was empty. Nobody nearby. You are alone, he said. She said. You just don't see what I'm carrying, and then everything happened fast. Jake went for his gun. Smooth draw. Practiced extensively. He'd done it 100 times. Faster than most men could blink, but she was already moving. Her hand went to her coat. Pulled something. A derringer. Small. 2 shots. The kind of gun women carried secretly. Jake's gun cleared the holster. She fired. The sound cracked across the street. Sharp. Final. Jake stopped. Looked down. A red bloom spreading across his chest. His gun fell from his hand. Hit the dirt. He tried to speak. Couldn't. Just stood there. Swaying. Then he dropped. Hard. Face first into the dust, silent. Morrow and Trent sat frozen on their horses, eyes wide, mouths open. Neither moved. The woman kept the derringer pointed. Steady as stone. You want to try? She asked them. Morrow jerked his reins hard. His horse spun around. He kicked hard. The animal bolted. Trent followed. Didn't even look back. Just ran. Their hoofbeats faded into the distance. Growing quieter, quitter gone. The woman lowered the gun, looked at it for a moment, then tucked it back into her coat. Jake lay in the street, not moving. Blood pooling beneath him, mixing with the dust. Turning it dark, all along the street doors opened. Slowly, carefully, faces appeared in windows, behind shutters. People who had been hiding. They stared. At Jake, at the woman, at what had just happened. The woman walked to her wagon, picked up the wrapped rifle, unwrapped it carefully. A Sharps, old but well maintained. She checked it. Loaded. Ready. Then she climbed onto the wagon seat. Took up the reins. Elias found his voice finally. They'll come back. Crow will... I know, she said, not looking at him. Looking at the horizon. I'm counting on it. She snapped the reins. The wagon rolled forward down the street, past Jake's body, past the staring faces, out toward the edge of town. She didn't look back once. They didn't move Jake's body right away. That told you everything about Red Hollow. Death wasn't unusual here. But public death was different, the kind that happened in broad daylight, in the middle of the street where everyone could see. Moving the body meant choosing. It meant acknowledging what had happened, and more importantly, it meant picking a side. Nobody wanted to be first. So Jake lay there as the sun moved across the sky. Flies found him within an hour. By late afternoon the blood had dried into the dust. Dark stains that would take weeks to fade. The woman's wagon had disappeared beyond the edge of town, heading east, toward the scattered ranches and empty land that stretched for miles. But she hadn't left. Elias knew that. Moses knew that. Anyone paying attention knew that. You don't shoot a man in the street and then run, not if you came here for a reason. Inside the Silver Dollar Saloon, the afternoon drinkers sat quieter than usual. Whiskey got poured. Cards got dealt. But nobody laughed. Nobody raised their voice. The usual noise had been replaced by something thicker. Anticipation. Moses moved between tables, listening without appearing to listen, collecting glasses. Collecting information. At a corner table 2 ranch hands spoke in low voices. Saw it myself. She didn't even hesitate. Jake drew first? Yeah, but she was faster. Little gun. 2 shots. Only needed 1. Where'd she go? East. But she'll be back. You saw her face. That wasn't fear. That was business. Moses moved on. Another table. Different conversation. Same topic. Crow's gonna kill her. If he can find her, he'll find her. Always does. Maybe. But did you see how she moved? That wasn't luck. Moses returned to the bar, wiped down the same section he'd already cleaned, thinking. He'd been in Red Hollow for 15 years, seen a lot of men try to stand up to Barrett Crow. Some lasted a day. Some lasted a week. None lasted a month. But he'd never seen a woman try, and he'd definitely never seen anyone move like that. Quick. Calm, like she'd done it before. The door opened. Sunlight cut across the dim interior, a shape in the doorway. Small, thin, a woman, not the widow. Someone else. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her. Her eyes adjusted to the darkness, looking for someone. Looking for Moses. He recognized her. Sarah Mitchell. Early 20s. Worked at the boarding house. Quiet. Kept to herself. Had bruises sometimes, bruises she tried to hide under long sleeves. Everyone knew why. Nobody talked about it. She walked to the bar. Nervous energy in every step, like she wanted to run, but forced herself not to. Moses, she said. Quiet, almost a whisper. Sarah, he acknowledged. That woman. The one who shot Jake. Where did she go? Moses studied her. Why? I need to talk to her. About what? Sarah hesitated, glanced around the saloon, making sure nobody was listening. About leaving, she said. Moses understood. He set down his rag. She went east, about 2 miles out. Old Tucker place. Abandoned ranch. She's staying there? Looks like it. Saw her wagon headed that way. Sarah nodded. Started to turn. Moses stopped her. Sarah, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, be careful. That woman's got trouble following her. Big trouble, I know. Sarah met his eyes, and for the first time in years. Moses saw something in them that hadn't been there before. Hope, but maybe that's exactly what this town needs, she said. She left. The door swung shut. Moses went back to cleaning glasses that didn't need cleaning. Meanwhile, at the old Tucker place 2 miles east, the woman had unhitched her horse, let the mare drink from the spring. Then she'd gone into the house, cleared out the dust and debris, made a space, not to live, just to wait. She sat on the porch now, the Sharp's rifle across her lap, watching the horizon. The sun was lower now, orange light painting everything the color of rust. She didn't clean the rifle. Didn't need to. It was already clean. Had been cleaned every night for the past 3 weeks. A habit. The kind you develop when your life depends on it. 3 weeks. That's how long she'd been in the area, not in Red Hollow itself. Out here, watching from a distance, learning the rhythms of the town. Who came and went. When? How often? Barrett Crow visited Red Hollow twice a week. Tuesdays and Fridays stayed at the Silver Dollar, conducted his business, then left. Today was Monday. That meant tomorrow Crow would hear about Jake, and the day after that he'd come looking for her. She was ready. Hoofbeats, faint, coming from the west. She stood, rifle in hand, not pointing it, just holding it, ready. One rider. Small, moving slow, not trying to hide. The woman waited. The rider got closer, closer, then stopped about 50 yards out. It was Sarah, on an old mare that had seen better days. I'm not armed, Sarah called out. Hands visible. Empty. The woman didn't lower the rifle. Then you're braver or more foolish, maybe both. Sarah dismounted. Slow, showing her movements. I just want to talk. About what? The woman asked. About why you're here, Sarah said. The woman considered that, then lowered the rifle slightly. Come on then, but keep your hands where I can see them. Sarah walked forward. The woman watched every step, not paranoid, just careful. Always careful. When Sarah got to the porch, she stopped close enough to talk, far enough to run if needed. Up close the woman could see the bruises better, faded yellow on the wrist. Finger marks. recent enough to still hurt. What's your name? Sarah asked. The woman hesitated, then decided. Grace. Sarah tested the name. Nodded. I'm Sarah. I know, Grace said. Sarah blinked. You do? Saw you in town, working at the boarding house. Saw the marks, too. Sarah's hand went unconsciously to her wrist, pulled the sleeve down. They're nothing, she said. They're everything. Grace's voice was flat, not judgmental, just factual. That's why you're here. To see if I'm what you think. What do I think you are? Sarah asked. Someone who can do what you can't, Grace said. Sarah's eyes filled. She blinked rapidly, pushed the tears back. Is it that obvious? She asked. Only to people who've been paying attention. Grace sat down on the porch, rifle still in reach. But not pointed. What do you want, Sarah? I want to know if you're going to kill Barrett Crow. Grace said nothing for a long moment. Just looked at the horizon. The sun was touching the edge of the world now, bleeding color across the sky. Yes, she said, finally. Why? Sarah asked. Because he killed my husband, Grace said. Sarah absorbed that. When? 5 years ago. Almost 6 now. Why wait this long? Sarah asked. Grace's jaw tightened. Because I didn't know where he was. I looked. For 2 years I looked. Then I stopped, tried to move on. Built a life somewhere else. She paused. But 3 weeks ago I heard his name, a merchant passing through. Said Crow was running Red Hollow, so I came. Just like that? Sarah asked. Just like that, Grace confirmed. Sarah sat down on the step below Grace, not too close. Respectful of space. Are you scared? She asked. Every day, Grace admitted. But you're still here. Fear doesn't make you weak. It makes you careful. Grace glanced at her. You're scared too. I can see it. But you rode out here anyway. That takes something. I don't know what it takes. I just know I can't keep living. Living like this. Like what? Grace asked. Sarah's voice broke slightly. Like I'm already dead. Just waiting for it to be official. Grace understood. She'd felt that way too, after John died for months. Maybe years. Waking up and not knowing why, going through motions. Breathing but not living. Crow do that to you? Grace asked, nodding toward the bruises, not directly. But he owns the boarding house, and the man who runs it, he knows Crow won't stop him. Sarah looked at her hands. I tried to leave once, got as far as the edge of town. He found me, brought me back. Said if I tried again he'd make sure I couldn't walk. Why not just go? In the night. Take a horse. Don't stop, because he'd follow. And when he caught me it would be worse. Sarah's voice was hollow. At least here I know what to expect. Out there alone I'd be easy to find. Grace was quiet, thinking, then said, What if Crow wasn't here anymore? Sarah looked up. You mean if you killed him? If someone did, Grace said, then maybe. Maybe I could leave. Maybe a lot of people could. Sarah studied Grace's face. You really think you can do it? I think I have to try, Grace said, even if it kills you. Sarah asked. Especially then, Grace said. They sat in silence. The sun sank lower. Shadows stretched long across the dirt. The evening air carried the smell of dust and distant sage. Finally Sarah stood. I should go. Before someone notices I'm gone. Be careful, Grace said. You too. Sarah started toward her horse, then stopped. Turned back, Grace. Thank you. For what? I haven't done anything yet. For being here. For making me remember what it feels like to hope. Sarah mounted her horse, rode back toward town. Grace watched until she disappeared into the growing darkness. Then she went inside, lit a candle, sat at the old table, and waited for the knock she knew was coming. It came an hour after full dark. 3 sharp raps. Deliberate, not aggressive, just present. Grace stood. Rifle in hand. Who is it? Elias Turner, came the reply. She recognized the voice. The shopkeeper. The one who'd tried to intervene. She opened the door. He stood in the moonlight, hands empty, face drawn, older than he'd looked in daylight. Can I come in? He asked. Grace stepped aside. He entered. She closed the door, didn't offer him a seat, just waited. Elias looked around the abandoned house, at the candle, the rifle, the sparse belongings. You're planning to stay, he said. For a while, Grace said. That's not smart, Elias said. Probably not, she agreed. Crow will come for you, he said. I know, she said. Elias met her eyes. Then why are you still here? Grace set the rifle against the wall. Within reach. Always within reach. You want the truth or the polite version? She asked. Truth, Elias said, because I came here to kill Barrett Crow. And I'm not leaving until that's done. Elias flinched. Like the words had weight, like they hit him physically. You know what you're saying, he said. I do, Grace said. He'll kill you first. He's good, better than good. And he has men, you have. He gestured at the empty room. This, I have enough, Grace said. Enough to die, maybe, Elias said. Grace's expression hardened. "Why are you here, Mr. Turner? To warn me? To scare me off? Because if that's it, you wasted a trip." Elias was quiet. His hands shook. He shoved them in his pockets, trying to hide it. "I'm here because I know why you're here," he said. "You just said you did. To kill Crow. No, I mean I know why." He took a breath. "Your husband. What was his name?" Grace's body went still. Completely still. "How do you know about him?" "Because I'm the one who told Crow where to find him." The air left the room, sucked out, gone. Grace stared at him, processing, understanding, fitting pieces together. "You," she said. Barely a whisper. "Me," Elias confirmed. "You sold him," Grace said. "Yes," Elias said. Grace moved fast, had Elias by the collar, slammed him against the wall. The candle flickered. Shadows danced. "You son of a—" No, Elias didn't fight back, didn't resist, just stood there, taking it. "I know what I did, do you?" Grace's voice shook, not with fear, with rage, pure, burning. "Do you know what it's like to hear your husband die, to hear it from half a mile away, to run back and find him on the porch, to hold him while he bled out because you weren't fast enough?" "No," Elias said. "Then you don't know anything," Grace said. She let him go. Step back, hands clenched, fighting for control. Elias slumped against the wall. "You're right, I don't know, but I've lived with it. For 6 years. Every day, knowing what I did, knowing I can't undo it. Why?" Grace's voice cracked. "Why did you do it?" "Because I was afraid." Elias looked at the floor. Couldn't meet her eyes. "Crow came to me. Said he knew I had information. About John. About where he was hiding. And you just told him?" Grace asked. "No, I refused. At first—" Elias's voice was barely audible. "Then Crow said he'd kill my family if I didn't. My wife, my daughter. He'd make me watch. And then he'd kill me." Grace's hands unclenched slightly. "Your family, where are they now?" "Dead. Both of them. 2 years after I talked." Elias laughed. "Bitter. Broken. Fever took them. Natural causes. So I gave up your husband for nothing. Sold a good man, sold him to save people who died anyway. And you've been living with that," Grace said. "If you can call it living," Elias said. Grace turned away, walked to the window, looked out at the darkness. Her reflection ghosted in the glass. Pale, thin, haunted. "I didn't come here for you," she said. "I came for Crow, I know," Elias said. "But now I know you were part of it." "You're as guilty I am," he said. "I should kill you too," Grace said. "You should." Elias didn't sound afraid, just tired. "I've thought about doing it myself. Many times. But I'm too much of a coward even for that." Grace was quiet, breathing slow, steadying herself. "Why tell me? Why now?" "Because you deserve to know." "And because—" he trailed off. "Because what?" Grace asked. "Because I need to say it out loud. To someone who was hurt. I need to hear myself confess." Elias finally looked up, met her eyes. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just need you to know the truth." Grace turned, studied him. This broken man who'd been carrying guilt, carrying it like stones in his pockets for 6 years. She'd imagined this moment many times. Finding the person who'd betrayed John, what she'd do, how she'd make them pay. But standing here now looking at Elias Turner, she felt something unexpected. Pity. "You said threatened your family," Grace said. "Did John know them? Your wife and daughter?" Elias nodded. He'd met them. Once. When he came through town, came through to buy supplies. "My daughter liked him. He was kind." Ken to her. "Patient." "What was her name?" Grace asked. "Anna." "She was 8, Elias said. Grace absorbed that. John would have protected her if he could. He was that kind of man, I know." "That's why." Elias's voice broke. "That's why it's worse. He would have helped me if I'd asked, but I didn't. I was too afraid. Fear makes us do things we can't take back," Grace said. "Is that forgiveness?" Elias asked. "No." Grace's voice was hard again. "It's just understanding. They're not the same thing." Elias nodded. Expected nothing else. "What are you going to do?" "What I came here to do," Grace said. "Crow will kill you," Elias said. "Maybe. Or maybe I'll kill him first. Even if you do, his men will hunt you. You'll never be safe. I'm not safe now. Haven't been since the day your cowardice, since the day it put John in the ground." Grace walked to the door, opened it. "Get out." Elias moved slowly. Stopped at the threshold. "For what it's worth, I am sorry. I know it doesn't help. But I am. It doesn't help." Grace's eyes were cold. "But I believe you." He left, walked into the darkness. Grace closed the door, leaned against it, breathing hard, fighting back everything she'd kept buried. Everything she'd kept buried for 6 years. She didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes she saw it. That night 6 years ago. The night everything ended. It came back in pieces. Never the whole thing. Just fragments, sharp, painful, the sound of hooves, multiple horses, coming fast. John's face, turning toward the window, listening, already knowing, his hand on her shoulder. Gentle, firm Grace. Take the rifle. Go into the woods. Don't come back. Don't come back until morning. I'm not leaving you, she'd said. You have to. Please, he'd said, the fear in his eyes. Not for himself, for her. She'd run, like he asked, into the trees behind the house, rifle in hand, heart pounding, tears blurring her vision, found a spot, high ground, where she could see the house, where she could shoot if needed. Watched as the riders circled, 5 of them, all armed. Watched as John stepped onto the porch, unarmed, hands visible. She couldn't hear what was said. Too far. But she saw gestures, saw John shake his head, refusing something, saw one of the riders dismount, walk toward John, still talking, then the shot. Single, sharp, final. John dropped, the rider stood over him, fired again, making sure. Grace had screamed, silent scream, no sound, just air forced from lungs, because making noise would give her away. She'd aimed her rifle, hands shaking, finger on the trigger, but there were 5 of them. And one of her, and John was already gone, so she'd stayed hidden, watched them search the house, take what they wanted, burn the rest, watched them ride away. Laughing. Job done. Only when dawn came did she go back, found John where he'd fallen, blood everywhere, eyes still open. She'd closed them, washed him, wrapped him, buried him alone, then she'd cried, for 3 days, until there was nothing left. Grace opened her eyes. The ceiling of the abandoned house stared back, different ceiling, same emptiness. She sat up. Dawn was coming. Grey light through the dirty windows. She stood, washed her face in the cold spring water, checked her weapons, loaded, ready. Then she heard it. Hoofbeats. Not just one. Several. She grabbed the sharps, moved to the window, careful, not showing herself. 3 riders, coming from town, moving fast, but not toward her, past her, heading somewhere else. She recognized 2 of them. Morrow and Trent, the ones who'd run. The 3rd man was someone new. Older, harder looking. They rode past the Tucker place without slowing, like they hadn't even noticed it. Greats watched them go, disappear over the ridge to the east. Something was wrong. She grabbed her coat, headed to her horse, saddled quickly, mounted, followed at a distance. The Rossar stopped about a mile out, a small clearing, nothing special about it, just open ground. Grace dismounted, tied her horse, moved forward on foot, using the terrain, staying low. Got close enough to see, close enough to hear. The 3 men had dismounted. Morrow and Trent looked nervous, kept glancing around. The older man stood calm, patient. Then another rider appeared. From the opposite direction. Grace's breath caught. She knew him, even from a distance. Even after 6 years, Barrett Crow. He was taller than she'd imagined. Lean. Not bulky. Moved like someone who knew exactly how dangerous he was, and didn't need to prove it. He dismounted, walked toward Morrow and Trent. They stepped back instinctively. Fear written on their faces. Crow stopped, looked at them, said something Grace couldn't hear. Morrow tried to respond, gesturing, explaining. Crow raised his hand. Silence, then he drew his gun. Smooth, practiced, no hesitation. Bang, Morrow dropped. Trent tried to run, got 3 steps. Bang, he fell face first. Didn't move. The older man didn't react, just stood there, like this was expected. Normal. Crow holstered his gun, looked at the bodies, then at the older man, said something. The older man nodded, mounted his horse, rode away. Crow stood alone, looking at the 2 bodies. Then he turned, looked directly at where Grace was hiding. She froze, didn't breathe for a long moment. Crow just stared, like he could see through rocks, through the distance, like he knew she was there. Then he smiled, small, cold, mounted his horse, rode back toward town. Grace stayed hidden, didn't move until the hoofbeats faded completely. Then she stood, looked at the bodies, Morrow and Trent. Dead because they'd run from her. This was a message. Crow knew someone had killed Jake, knew his men had fled, and this was his response. He was cleaning house, removing weakness, getting ready. Grace walked back to her horse, mounted, rode back to the Tucker place. She had her answer now. Crow knew she was here, knew she was coming, and he was waiting. By noon the whole town knew. Morrow and Trent were dead, shot by their own boss, left in a clearing for the buzzards. The message was clear. Failure wasn't tolerated. Fear wasn't accepted. You either stood with Barrett Crow or you died by his hand. Red Hollow got quieter. Doors stayed closed. Windows shuttered. The few people who had to be outside moved quickly, eyes down. Nobody wanted to be noticed. Grace sat on the porch of the Tucker place, watching. Waiting. She knew what would come next. Crow had killed his own men, killed them to show strength, to demonstrate control, but that wasn't enough. Eventually he'd have to face her directly. The question was when the answer came faster than expected. A single rider appeared on the western road, moving slow, deliberate, No hurry, the kind of approach that said something. I'm not afraid of you. Grace stood, rifle in hand, watching the rider get closer. It wasn't Crow, too small. Wrong posture, the rider stopped about 50 yards out, called out, I'm not armed, just carrying a message, a boy. Maybe 14, thin, dirty face, one of the many orphans the frontier created and forgot about. Come on then, Grace said. Slow, the boy dismounted, walked forward, hands visible. He stopped at the bottom of the porch steps, looked up at her, eyes wide. She could see him trying not to stare at the rifle. You're her, he said. The one who shot Jake. I am, Grace confirmed. Everyone's talking about you, he said. I'm sure they are. Grace lowered the rifle slightly. What's the message? The boy reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, held it up. Grace gestured. Bring it here. He climbed the steps, handed her the paper, stepped back quickly. Grace unfolded it. Read. The handwriting was neat. Control. Each letter precise, Mrs. Harlan. I believe we have business to discuss. Tonight, Silver Dollar Saloon. Sunset, come alone. I will do the same. Respectfully, Barrett Crow. Grace read it twice, then looked at the boy. He's expecting an answer? She asked. No, ma'am. Just said to deliver it. How'd he know my name? Grace asked. The boy shifted uncomfortably. Don't know. He just knew. Grace folded the paper, tucked it into her pocket. Tell him I'll be there, she said. Yes, ma'am. The boy turned to go. Stopped, ma'am? Are you really going to face him? That's why I'm here, Grace said. People say he's never lost. Say he's killed more men than anyone can count. I've heard, Grace said. The boy looked at her, really looked, like he was trying to understand. Ain't you scared? He asked, terrified. Grace met his eyes. But I'm going anyway. The boy nodded, like that made sense to him. Good luck, ma'am, he said. He ran back to his horse, mounted, rode away. Grace watched him disappear. Then she went inside, set the rifle on the table, sat down. Sunset was 6 hours away. 6 hours to prepare, to think, to remember why she was doing this. She pulled out the photograph of John, looked at his face, traced the familiar features. Tonight, she whispered. One way or another it ends tonight. 3 hours before sunset, Sarah arrived. Grace heard the horse, stepped outside, rifle ready. Sarah dismounted quickly, breathing hard, like she'd ridden fast. Grace, you can't go, she said. I'm going, Grace said. It's a trap. Everyone knows it. Crow doesn't meet people alone. He'll have men waiting. Probably, Grace said. Then why go? Sarah asked. Grace leaned the rifle against the porch post. Because if I don't, this never ends. He'll keep coming, keep sending people. Eventually he'll get me, or I'll run. And I'm done running. Sarah climbed the steps, stood close. There has to be another way. There isn't. I've thought about it for 6 years. There's only one way this ends. With you dead, Sarah said. Maybe. Grace's voice was calm, accepting. Or maybe with him dead. Either way, it's over. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I barely know you, but you're the first person in this town who's made me feel like maybe things could be different. If you die tonight, then you leave. Take whatever you can carry and go. Don't wait. Don't look back. Where would I go? Sarah asked. Anywhere. Anywhere is better than here, Grace said. Sarah wiped her eyes. I brought you something. She went to her horse, pulled something from the saddlebag, a bundle wrapped in cloth. She brought it to Grace, unwrapped it, a revolver, Colt, well maintained. Loaded. Where did you get this? Grace asked. It belonged to my father before he died. I kept it hidden, thought maybe someday I'd need it. Sarah held it out. But you need it more than me. Grace took it, checked the cylinder. 6 rounds. Good weight. Balanced? Thank you, Grace said. There's something else. Sarah pulled a small derringer from her pocket, the one Grace had used to shoot Jake. Moses found this in the street after. He kept it safe, asked me to return it. Grace took that too, checked it. Still had 1 round. She reloaded the second chamber. Tell Moses I said thank you, Grace said. Tell him yourself. When you come back, Grace smiled. Sad. Knowing, if I come back, when? Sarah insisted. They stood in silence, 2 women, both trapped by different circumstances, both looking for a way out. Finally Sarah spoke. Can I ask you something? Yes, Grace said. Your husband. What was he like? Grace sat down on the porch step. Sarah joined her. He was kind, Grace said. Quiet, remembering. That's the first thing people noticed. He had this way of making you feel safe, like nothing bad could happen while he was there. How'd you meet? Sarah asked. Colorado. Small town. I was working at a general store. He came through buying supplies. We talked. Just small talk at first, but he kept coming back. Even when he didn't need anything. Sarah smiled slightly. He courted you, he did. Took 6 months before he asked to marry me. Said he wanted to be sure I knew what I was getting into. What did he mean? Sarah asked. Grace's expression darkened. He'd been in the war. Union Army, sharpshooter, saw things, did things. It changed him. He didn't sleep well. Startled easy. Sometimes he'd wake up in the middle of the night. I'd find him sitting on the porch, just staring at nothing. What would you do? Sarah asked. Sit with him. Didn't talk, just sat. Eventually he'd come back to bed. Never explained. Didn't have to. He sounds like a good man, Sarah said. He was. That's why, Grace's voice caught. That's why what Crow did was worse. John wasn't a threat. He'd left that life behind. He just wanted peace. And Crow wouldn't let him have it, Sarah said. No, Crow couldn't understand why anyone would choose peace over power, so he killed him for it. Sarah put her hand on Grace's shoulder, just rested it there, comfort without words. They sat like that until the sun started its descent toward the horizon. Then Sarah stood. I should go. Before someone notices I'm gone. Be careful, Grace said. You too. And Grace? Whatever happens tonight, thank you. For showing me what courage looks like, Sarah rode away. Grace watched until she disappeared. Then she went inside. Time to prepare. She washed. Changed into cleaner clothes. Black dress. Simple. Practical. Nothing that would restrict movement chanced her weapons. The Sharps rifle. Too big for the saloon. She'd have to leave it. The Colt revolver Sarah had given her. 6 shots. She tucked it into her belt. Covered it with her shawl, the Derringer. 2 shots. Small. Easy to hide. She slipped it into a pocket sewn into her dress. Soon just above her right hip. Knife. Small blade, sharp, tucked into her boot. She looked at herself in the broken mirror on the wall. A ghost of a woman stared back, thin, pale, but her eyes were hard, determined. This was who she'd become, who she had to become. She picked up John's photograph, looked at it one more time. I'm sorry I wasn't faster that night. Sorry I didn't save you. But I can do this. I can finish what you couldn't. She wrapped the photograph carefully, placed it in her pack. If she didn't come back, at least it would be safe, a record that he'd existed, that he'd mattered. Then she stepped outside, mounted her horse, rode toward Red Hollow. The sun touched the horizon, bleeding red across the sky, like the world was on fire. Grace rode into it, toward the Silver Dollar, toward Barrett Crow, toward the end. The saloon was empty when she arrived, not just quiet, empty. Tables cleared, chairs pushed back, like someone had made space, prepared for what was coming. Moses stood behind the bar, alone. He looked up when she entered, nodded once. He's waiting, Moses said, pointing to a back room. Through there, Grace walked across the empty floor. Her boots echoed, each step loud in the silence. She reached the door, paused, hand on the handle. This was it. The moment she'd been moving toward for 6 years. Everything had led here. She opened the door. The room was small. 1 table, 2 chairs, a lamp burning low, casting shadows on the walls, and Barrett Crow. He sat at the table, relaxed, comfortable, like this was his home, and she was the guest. He looked up as she entered, smiled slightly. Mrs. Harlan. Thank you for coming. Grace closed the door behind her. Stood, evaluating. Crow was lean, taller than John had been, dark hair, grey at the temples, face weathered by sun and time, eyes that had seen too much and felt too little. But what struck her most was how normal he looked. She'd built him into a monster in her mind. But sitting here he just looked like a man, a dangerous man, but still just a man. Sit, Crow said. Gesturing to the other chair, Grace didn't move. I'll stand. Suit yourself. Crow poured whiskey into 2 glasses, pliv one toward the empty chair. Though it seems rude to refuse hospitality. You killed my husband. I think we're past hospitality. Crow nodded, like that was fair. John Harlan. Good man, good soldier. Better shot. Grace's hand twitched toward her gun. Stopped. You knew him, she said. Knew him? Mrs. Harlan, I served with him. We were in the same unit, same company, same mission. The room tilted. Grace grabbed the back of the chair, steadied herself. You're lying, she said. Am I? Crow took a sip of whiskey. John never mentioned me. We were quite close. Saved each other's lives more than once. Sharpshooters tend to work in pairs. Watch each other's backs. He never. Grace's voice failed. Recovered. He never said. No, I imagine he wouldn't. John was good at forgetting things he didn't want to remember. Crow leaned back. We were good at what we did. Very good. Between the 2 of us we must have dropped over 100 Confederate soldiers. Maybe more. Hard to keep count. Grace finally sat. Legs wouldn't hold her anymore. This couldn't be true. John had mentioned the war, but never in detail. Never names. Never. Why? She asked. Why kill him if you were friends? Friends? Crow considered the word. We were brothers, in the way soldiers are. Shared blood, shared trauma, shared nightmares. He finished his whiskey. But after the war things changed. How? Grace asked. Crow poured another glass, offered it to Grace. She shook her head. After Appomattox we went our separate ways, Crow continued. I realized our skills had value, real value. Men would pay good money for what we could do. Protection, enforcement, removal of problems, he said it matter-of-factly. Like discussing weather. I found John 5 years after the war ended. Offered him a partnership, good money. Easy work, and he refused, Grace said. He did. Said he'd had enough killing. Wanted to build something instead. Wanted peace. Crow's expression hardened. Implied that I should want the same. That continuing to use our skills made me less than him. So you killed him for saying no? Grace asked. I killed him because he judged me, because he looked at me like I was diseased, like choosing to survive. Survive using the skills we'd earned made me a monster. Crow's voice remained calm, but something cold moved behind his eyes. He wanted peace. Fine, but he didn't get to condemn me. Didn't get to condemn me for wanting power. Grace's hand moved to her gun. Crow noticed. Didn't react. Before you do that, he said, you should know something. John didn't die quickly. Grace froze. What? When I shot at him. First round hit his shoulder. Intentional. I wanted to talk to him. Wanted him to understand why. Crow's eyes locked on hers. Know what his last words were? Grace couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. He said, don't hurt her. Please. She doesn't know anything. Let her go. Crow smiled. Cold, empty, even dying he was protecting you, thought you were hiding somewhere, watching, begged me not to hunt you down, and, Grace asked, and I promised I wouldn't, a courtesy, for old times, so I let you live. Crow stood, walked to the window, looked out at the darkening street, but then you came here, to my town, killed my man, made this personal again. It was always personal, Grace said. No, it was finished, you could have lived, mourned, moved on. But you chose this, he turned. So here we are. Grace stood, hand on her gun. Here we are. Crow studied her. You know you can't win. Maybe. Maybe not, Grace said. I'm faster than John was, better trained, more experienced, and I haven't spent 6 years mourning. I've spent them practicing. Then this should be easy for you, Grace said. Crow laughed. Genuine. You got spine, I'll give you that. John would have been proud. Don't. Grace's voice cut like ice. Don't you dare talk about him. Talk about him like you knew him. You killed him. You killed who he was trying to become. I killed who he always was. A killer pretending to be something else. Crow walked back to the table. But we're wasting time. You came here for a reason. So let's get to it. He moved his hand toward his gun. The door burst open. A woman stood in the doorway. Tall, lean, dark hair pulled back tight, 2 revolvers on her hips. Clara. Grace had heard about her. Crow's best. The one he sent when he wanted someone dead, quietly, efficiently. Not yet, Clara said, looking at Crow. You said I could try first. Crow sighed. Clara, we discussed this. You discussed. I listened. Didn't agree. Clara's eyes shifted to Grace. This one's mine. She's not worth your time, Crow said. I'll decide that. Clara stepped into the room, closed the door. Besides, you wanted to test her, see if she's as good as she seems. What better test than me? Crow considered, then nodded. Fine, but make it quick. He walked past Grace, stopped at the door. If you survive, we'll talk more, he said. He left. The door closed. Grace and Clara stood facing each other, 10 feet apart, both armed. Both ready, Mrs. Harlan, Clara said, voice smooth, almost friendly. I've heard about you. Can't say the same, Grace said. I prefer it that way. Makes my job easier. Clara tilted her head. But you're different. You made noise, got people talking. That's interesting. Glad I could entertain, Grace said. Oh, you have. Jake wasn't much. But killing him took guts, or stupidity. Haven't decided which yet. Grace's hand hovered near her gun. Why don't you find out? Clara smiled. I intend to. She moved. Fast. Faster than Grace expected. Hand to gun. Drawing, Grace dove left. Rolled. Came up behind a chair. Bang. The shot splintered wood where she'd been standing. Grace drew the Colt, fired blind. Covering her movement, Clara dodged, moved to the side, fired again. The bullet whined past Grace's ear. Close. Too close. Grace flipped the table, creating cover. Crouched behind it. Not bad, Clara called out. You've done this before. Grace didn't answer. Focused on breathing. Listening, trying to place Clara's position. Footsteps. Left side. Moving, Grace aimed through the gap at the table's edge. Waited. Clara appeared. Grace fired. Hit. Clara's shoulder jerked back. Blood bloomed on her shirt, but Clara didn't fall, just smiled wider. Now we're talking, she charged. No finesse, just aggression. Grace stood, met her. They collided, both trying for control. Clara grabbed Grace's gun hand, twisted. The Colt fell. Grace brought her knee up, hard, caught Clara in the ribs. Clara grunted, but didn't let go. Headbutt, connected with Grace's temple. Grace's vision blurred. She stumbled back. Clara drew her second gun, aimed. Grace's hand went to her dress. to the hidden pocket, the derringer. Both women fired double crack. Almost simultaneous, Clara's shot went wide. Grace's didn't small caliber, but close range. Caught Clara in the chest. Center mass. Clara looked down, surprised, like she hadn't expected this outcome. Huh, she said, then fell. Grace dropped the derringer, grabbed the table, breathing hard, her ear ringing from the gunshots in the enclosed space. Clara lay on the floor, not moving, blood spreading beneath her. The door opened. Crow stood there, looked at Clara. Then at Grace. Well, he said, that's unexpected. Grace straightened. Your turn. Crow smiled. Not tonight. What? Grace asked. You fought well, better than I expected. You've earned a reprieve. He stepped over Clara's body, walked to Grace, stood close. Tomorrow, noon. In the street. A proper duel. Why wait? Grace asked. Because I want you at your best. Want everyone to see. Want there to be no question. He turned to leave. Stopped. Get some rest, Mrs. Harlan. Tomorrow we finish this. He left. His footsteps faded. Grace stood alone. Clara's body at her feet. The smell of gunpowder heavy in the air. She'd survived. But just barely, and tomorrow she'd have to do it again. Against someone better. Moses helped her out the back way. Avoiding the crowd that had gathered when they heard shots. You all right? He asked. No, but I'm alive, Grace said. That's something. He handed her the Colt. She dropped it in the fight. You're tougher than you look. Not tough enough, Grace said. Moses studied her. You really going to face him tomorrow? Don't have a choice, Grace said. There's always a choice, Moses said. Not for me. Not anymore. She mounted her horse. Moses grabbed the reins. Held them. Listen to me, he said. Urgent. Crow's good. Better than good. He's killed men who were faster, stronger, more experienced. The only reason you're alive now is because he let Clara fight first. I know, Grace said. Then you know you can't beat him straight up. What are you saying? Grace asked. Moses looked around. Making sure nobody was listening, I'm saying there are other ways to win. Ways that don't involve being faster on the draw. Grace leaned down. Like what? Like using what he doesn't expect. He thinks you're going to stand there tomorrow and draw like a man. Like this is some code of honor thing. It is, Grace said. No. It's survival, and survivors use every advantage. Moses let go of the reins. Think about it. Sleep on it. And if you decide you want to live more than you want to die honorably, come find me before noon. He walked back inside. Left Grace sitting on her horse, thinking. She rode back to the Tucker place. Slow. Body aching. Mind racing. Inside, she lit the lamp. Sat at the table. Looked at John's photograph. What would you do? She asked the image. If it was you, would you take the advantage? Or would you face him straight? The photograph didn't answer, just looked back with those kind eyes. Grace knew what John would say. He'd tell her to leave, to walk away, to live, but she wasn't John, and she'd come too far to turn back now. She pulled out the derringer, reloaded both chambers, checked the Colt, 4 rounds left, would have to reload before tomorrow. Then she did something she hadn't done in 6 years. She prayed, not for victory, not for courage, just for one thing, the strength to see it through. Whatever happened, when she finished, she lay down, closed her eyes, and for the first time since John died, she slept. No dreams, no nightmares, just darkness deep, complete final. She woke to pounding on the door, sunrise, light streaming through the windows. How long had she slept? The pounding came again, urgent. Grace grabbed the Colt, went to the door. Who is it? She called. Sarah. Please. Open up. Grace opened the door. Sarah rushed in, face flushed, breathing hard. What happened? Grace asked. Crow. He's not waiting until noon. Grace's stomach dropped. What? He's coming here now. With 4 men. I heard them talking at the boarding house. They're coming to burn you out. How long? Grace asked. 10 minutes. Maybe less, Sarah said. Grace looked around. The Tucker place. No defenses, no cover. If they surrounded it, she'd be trapped? Okay. Her mind raced, calculating. Okay, we need to move. Where? Sarah asked. Anywhere but here. Grace grabbed her pack, her rifle, started throwing things together. Sarah helped. What about the duel? What about... There is no duel. He lied. Just wanted me to relax. To think I had time. Grace shouldered the pack. That's what I would have done too. They ran outside. Grace's horse, Sarah's. Both saddled fast. Ride north, Grace said. Don't stop until you hit the next town. What about you? Sarah asked. I'm going to finish this, Grace said. How? Sarah asked. Grace mounted, checked the sharps, loaded. The only way I know how. She kicked her horse, rode east, toward the high ground. The rocks and ridges that overlooked the approach to the Tucker place. Behind her she heard hoofbeats, multiple horses. Coming fast, Crow and his men. Grace reached the ridge, dismounted, grabbed the sharps, found a position, good sight lines, good cover. This was what John had trained her for. Not close combat, not quick draw distance shooting, patience, wind reading. She settled in, rifle braced on a rock, eye to the scope, and waited. Below 5 riders approached the Tucker place. Crow in the lead, 4 men behind him. They stopped. Looked at the empty house. Crow said something, gestured. 2 men dismounted, approached the house. Guns drawn. Grace adjusted her aim, breathed slow. Let the first man reach the porch, then squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked across the valley. The man dropped. Head shot. Clean, the others scattered. Looking for cover, looking for the shooter. Grace worked the action, ejected the spent cartridge, loaded another, found her next target, man behind the wagon, partially hidden. She adjusted for wind, for distance, for the angle, fired. The man spun, fell, hit 3 left, including Crow return fire now. They'd found her position. Bullets whined off the rocks near her head. Grace moved, rolled right, found new cover, new angle, spotted another man, running toward the house. Trying to flank, she led him, anticipated his movement, fired, he went down, didn't get up, 2 left, Grace reloaded, looked for Crow, he was moving, smart, using cover, making himself hard to track. The 4th man broke, ran for his horse, trying to escape. Grace let him go. Focused on Crow. He was gone, disappeared behind the house. Out of sight, Grace waited, patient, watching. He had to come out eventually. Minutes passed. Nothing. Then movement. Behind her, she spun. Crow stood 20 feet away. Revolver pointed at her chest. Good shooting, he said, but you forgot the first rule. Always watch your back. Grace's rifle was pointed the wrong way. She'd never get it around in time. Her hand went to her belt. To the Colt, don't, Crow said. You're fast. But not that fast. Grace froze. Hand on the grip, not drawing, not yet. They stood like that, frozen, both knowing the next second would decide everything. Crow smiled. This is it. The moment you wanted. Face to face. Fair fight. Nothing about this is fair. Grace said. No, but it's what we got. His finger tightened on the trigger. Any last words? Grace looked at him. Really looked. And in that moment she understood something. He wanted her to try. Wanted her to draw. Because beating someone who tried and failed was better than executing someone who just stood there. His ego needed the fight, so she gave him one. She drew, fast, faster than she'd ever moved, muscle memory, training everything John had taught her, everything her father had taught her before that. The Colt came up, clearing the belt, turning, aiming. Crow fired first, by a fraction of a second, but his shot went wide, rushed. Surprised by her speed, Grace's didn't kenter mass, exactly where she'd aimed. Crow staggered, looked down, looked up. Surprise in his eyes, you. He tried to raise his gun. Couldn't, it fell from his hand. Grace stood, gun still pointed. Making sure, Crow dropped it to his knees. Blood spreading across his shirt, fast. Arterial. John taught you well, he said, voice weak, fading. No, Grace said quietly. My father did. John just reminded me. Crow smiled. Blood on his teeth. Clever girl. Then he fell forward, face in the dirt. Still Grace stood over him, gun raised, waiting, making sure he wasn't faking. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Barrett Crow was dead. Grace lowered the gun. Her hand shook. Adrenaline leaving her system, leaving her empty. She'd done it, after 6 years. It was done, but she didn't feel victorious. Didn't feel relieved, just tired. So tired, she walked back to the ridge, looked down at the Tucker place, at the body scattered around it. 3 men dead, 1 fled. Crow dead, so much death. And for what? Closure, she told herself. Justice. Ending what needed to end. But standing here now, all she felt was hollow. Sarah appeared below, on her horse. She'd come back. Ignored the warning to run. She looked up, saw Grace, saw Crow's body, understood. Grace climbed down, slow, her body aching. The wound on her temple, the wound from Clara's headbutt and throbbing. Sarah dismounted, ran to her. Are you okay? I don't know. Grace's voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Ask me tomorrow. What do we do now? Sarah asked. Grace looked at the bodies, at Crow, at the mess she'd made. We go back to town. Tell them it's over. Tell them they're free, and then? Sarah asked. Then I leave. This place, this life. All of it. Where will you go? Sarah asked. Grace thought about that. She had the ranch, the place where John was buried, but could she go back there? Live there alone? Maybe. Maybe not, I don't know, she said finally, but somewhere else. Somewhere I can sleep, without seeing blood. They mounted their horses, rode back toward Red Hollow. The sun was higher now. Morning. A new day. Behind them Barrett Crow lay in the dust, eyes open, staring at nothing, another ghost for the frontier to forget. Red Hollow held its breath when Grace rode back into town. She came slowly, no hurry. Sarah beside her, both covered in dust, both silent. The street was empty. but Grace could feel eyes watching from windows, from behind shutters, from every shadow. Word had spread fast. Gunshots carried in the desert, and when Barrett Crow didn't return, people knew. They just didn't know what it meant yet. Grace dismounted in front of the silver dollar, tied her horse. Sora did the same. The saloon door opened. Moses stepped out, looked at Grace, at the blood on her dress, at the hollowness in her eyes. "It's done," he asked. "It's done," Grace confirmed. Moses nodded slowly. "The others?" "Dead, except one." "He ran," Grace said. "And Crow?" Moses asked. "Dead," Grace said flatly, no emotion, just fact. Moses absorbed that, then looked past her. At the empty street, town doesn't know what to do now. They've lived under him so long. Fear was the only thing holding this place together. Then let it fall apart. Or build something new. That's not my problem. Grace walked past him, into the saloon. Sarah followed. Inside, a few men sat at tables. They looked up as Grace entered, eyes wide. Uncertain, one stood, older man. "Rancher from outside town. Is it true? Crow's really dead?" "Yes," Grace said. "You kill him?" the man asked. "Yes," Grace said. The man sat back down, looked at his whiskey, didn't drink it, just stared. Another man spoke. "Younger, what happens now?" Grace walked to the bar. "That's up to you." "I'm leaving when?" he asked. "Soon as I settle a few things," Grace said. The younger man stood. "We should thank you. You freed us, you. I didn't do this for you." Grace's voice cut him off. "I did it for me. For my husband. What it means for this town. What it means for this town is none of my concern." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Moses poured Grace whiskey. She took it, drank it, felt the burn, wanted more. Wanted to feel something other than this emptiness. The door opened. Sheriff Wilson entered, badge still on his chest, but he looked different. Smaller somehow, without Crow behind him. He was just a man in a costume. "Mrs. Harlan," he said. Voice uncertain. "I need to ask you some questions. About what happened, ask," Grace said. "Did you kill Barrett Crow in self-defense?" "Yes," Grace said. "Can anyone verify that?" he asked. Grace looked at him, really looked. "You going to arrest me, Sheriff?" Wilson shifted, uncomfortable. "I have to investigate." "It's my job, your job." Grace laughed. Bitter. "Your job was to protect this town, but you spent years protecting Crow instead." "Don't talk to me about your job." Wilson's face reddened. "That's not fair. You don't know what he would have done. What he would have done if I know exactly what he would have done. I've seen what he did to my husband, to this town, to everyone who stood up to him." Grace set down the glass. "Hard, but he's gone now. So you get to decide, are you the sheriff of Red Hollow, or just another scared man? Just another scared man hiding behind a badge?" Wilson stood there, mouth opening, closing, no words. Finally he turned, walked out, left his question unanswered. Moses refilled Grace's glass. "That was hard. Truth usually is," Grace said. "You hurt a lot of people today, killing Crow. Taking away the thing they've used as an excuse for so long. They'll survive. Or they won't. Either way, it's not my burden." Sarah touched Grace's arm. "Gentle. You should rest. You've been through." "I'm fine," Grace said. "You're not." "I can see it," Sarah said. Grace met her eyes, saw the concern there, the care, and it hurt, because she didn't deserve it. Didn't deserve anyone caring. "I need air," Grace said. She walked out, into the street, into the fading afternoon light. The bodies were still there when she returned to the Tucker place, 3 men scattered around the property. Crow up on the ridge where he'd fallen. Grace had known she'd have to deal with them eventually. Couldn't just leave them for the buzzards. Not without at least trying to do the right thing. She found a shovel in the barn. Started digging. The ground was hard, packed dirt and rock. Each shovelful took effort, made her shoulders burn. Her hands blister, but she kept digging. 4 graves. Deep enough to keep the animals out. It took hours. The sun moved across the sky. Shadows lengthened. Still she dug. She was on the 3rd grave when she heard hoofbeats. Elias Turner rode up, dismounted, looked at the graves, at Grace covered in dirt and sweat. "Let me help," he said. "Why?" Grace asked. "Because you shouldn't have to do this alone," Elias said. Grace wanted to refuse, wanted to tell him to leave, but her arms ached, her back screamed, and there was still one more grave to dig. "Fine," she said, handed him the shovel. They worked in silence. Elias dug while Grace dragged the bodies, one by one, laid them in the holes. When they were finished, they stood over the graves, unmarked, anonymous, 4 men who'd chosen the wrong side. "Should we say something?" Elias asked. "Like what?" Grace asked. "I don't know. A prayer." "Something." Grace looked at the graves, thought about it. They made their choices. Lived by violence, died by it. That's all there is to say." Ilias nodded. Started filling in the graves. Grace helped shovel by shovel, until all four were covered, gone. When they finished, Elias sat on the ground, exhausted. Grace sat beside him. You did it, Elias said. What you came here to do? Yes, Grace said. Feel any better? Elias asked. No, Grace said. Elias looked at her. Then why do it? Grace was quiet for a long time, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. Finally she spoke. There's a difference between feeling better and finding closure. I didn't expect killing Crow to heal me. Didn't expect to wake up tomorrow and suddenly be whole again. She pulled her knees to her chest. But I needed to know, now it was finished, that he couldn't hurt anyone else the way he hurt John. Hurt me, and now you know, Elias said. Now I know. Grace confirmed. They sat in silence. The desert around them painted in oranges and reds, beautiful and terrible at once. I'm leaving tomorrow, Grace said. Early. Before the town wakes up, where will you go? Elias asked. Back to the ranch. Where John is buried. She paused. I need to tell him it's done. Need to say goodbye properly. And after that? Elias asked. I don't know. Maybe I'll stay there. Try to make it work again. Or maybe I'll sell it. Move somewhere new. Somewhere without ghosts. Elias nodded. Can I ask you something? Yes, Grace said. Do you forgive me? For what I did. Grace considered the question. Really considered it. No, she said finally. I don't forgive you. What you did got my husband killed. Nothing changes that. Elias's shoulders slumped, but he nodded, accepting. But, Grace continued, I understand why you did it. Fear makes cowards of all of us, makes us do things we hate ourselves for. She looked at him. You've punished yourself enough. 6 years of guilt, of living with it. That's more than most people could bear. It's not enough, Elias said. It never will be. That's the point. Some debts can't be paid, can't be balanced. You just have to live with them. Elias wiped his eyes. What about you? What debt are you carrying? Grace's throat tightened. I let him die. John. That night. I ran when he told me to. Hid in the woods while they killed him. I had a rifle. I could have shot, but I was too afraid, too slow. He told you to run. To save yourself, Elias said. I know. But every night since I wonder, what if I'd stayed? What if I'd been braver? Maybe he'd still be alive, or maybe you'd both be dead, Elias said. Maybe. But at least I wouldn't be alone, Grace said. They sat with that. Two people carrying different guilts, different regrets, but the weight felt the same. Finally Elias stood. I should go. Let you rest, Elias, Grace called. He turned. Thank you for helping with the graves. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. It's the least I could do. He mounted his horse. Safe travels, Grace. Wherever you end up, he rode away. Left Grace sitting alone, watching the last light fade from the sky. The journey took 3 days. Grace rode steady. Not fast, not slow, just consistent, putting miles between herself and Red Hollow. At night she camped under the stars, built small fires, ate sparingly, thought about what came next. The ranch would need work, repairs, clearing. It had sat empty for weeks while she'd been gone. Nature would have reclaimed parts of it, but that was good. Work would give her purpose. Something to focus on besides the emptiness. On the third day she saw it, the familiar outline of the small house against the horizon. The barn listing slightly to one side, the corral fence that always needed mending. Home. She rode up slowly, dismounted, stood looking at the place she'd shared with John, the place where they'd tried to build a life. Everything looked smaller than she remembered, more worn, like time had compressed it somehow. She led her horse to the barn unsaddled, fed and watered the mare, then walked to the small plot behind the house, John's grave. She'd marked it with a simple wooden cross, carved his name herself, John Harlan, beloved husband. No dates, no flowery words, just the truth. The grave was weathered now, the cross leaning slightly, but the ground looked undisturbed, peaceful. Grace sat beside it, cross-legged in the dirt, like she'd done countless times before. I did it, she said, voice quiet, talking to the earth, to the memory. I found him. Crow, and I killed him, the wind whispered through the grass. Otherwise silence. He told me about you, about the war, how you served together, how you were friends. Grace picked at the dirt. You never told me that, never mentioned him. I understand why now. You wanted to leave that part of yourself behind. She paused, gathering thoughts. I met Elias too, the man who betrayed you. He's been carrying it. The guilt. Every day for 6 years I thought seeing him would make me angrier, but it just made me tired. The sun moved across the sky. Grace sat, not moving, just being present. I don't know if what I did was right, she continued. Killing Crow, killing the others. But it's done now, and I can't undo it, can only live with it. She pulled out the wooden carving Tommy had given her, the little horse, turned it over in her hands. A boy gave me this. In Red Hollow. He called me brave. Can you imagine? Me. Brave, she laughed. Sad. I wasn't brave, John. I was scared the whole time. I'm still scared. The wind picked up. Cooler now. Evening approaching. I miss you, Grace said, voice breaking. Every day. Every hour. And I don't know how to stop. Don't know how to move forward. Move forward when you're still here. In every corner of this place, every memory, she stood, placed the wooden horse at the base of the cross, a marker, an offering. But I have to try. Have to find a way to live again, not just survive. Actually live. She touched the cross. Gentle, firm, you'd want that for me. I know you would. She turned, walked back to the house, didn't look back at the grave. Inside everything was as she'd left it, dusty, cold, empty, but it was hers. And tomorrow she'd start the work of making it a home again. Weeks passed. Grace fell into a rhythm. Wake with the sun. Work until exhausted. Sleep repeat. She repaired the barn roof, fixed the corral fence, cleared the overgrown garden, planted new seeds. Physical work. Tangible results. It helped, not with the grief, but with the living. Some days were harder than others. Days when the silence felt too heavy, when the empty chair across from her at meals reminded her of what was missing. But she pushed through. Kept moving. Because stopping meant thinking. And thinking led to dark places. One morning about a month after returning, she heard a wagon approaching. Grace grabbed the rifle. Old habits. But when she saw who it was, she lowered it. Moses. From the silver dollar, he pulled the wagon to a stop, climbed down, tipped his hat. Mrs. Harlan. Hope I'm not intruding. How did you find me? Grace asked around. Turns out you're more famous than you thought. People remember. He gestured to the wagon. Brought you some things. Figured you could use supplies. Supplies out here. Grace approached. Looked in the wagon bed. Flour. Salt. Coffee. Beans. More than she'd need for a month. I can't pay for all this, Grace said. Don't have to. It's from the town. Red Hollow. People pooling together. Wanted to help. Grace didn't know what to say. Why? Because you helped them. Even if you didn't mean to. Seemed right to return the favor. Moses started unloading. Besides, been wanting to check on you, make sure you were all right. I'm fine, Grace said. That's so? Moses looked at her. Really looked. Because you look thin, tired, like you're working yourself into the ground. I'm managing, Grace said. Managing isn't living, Moses said. Grace bristled. You don't know what I'm going through. No, but I know what grief looks like. Seen it enough times. Moses set down a sack of flour. My wife died 7 years ago, cholera. Took her in 3 days, and for a year after I did what you're doing. Worked until I couldn't think. Until I was too tired to remember. Did it help? Grace asked. No, just delayed things. Made it worse when it finally caught up. He looked at her. Kind, understanding. Grief doesn't go away because you ignore it. It just waits. Grace felt something crack. That wall she'd been building. Brick by brick. I don't know how to do this. How to be alive when he's dead. Nobody does. You just figure it out. Day by day. And some days you fail, but you try again the next day. They unloaded the wagon together, carried supplies into the house. Moses talked while they worked, about Red Hollow. The changes happening there. Sheriff Wilson actually enforcing laws now. First time in years. People are opening businesses, starting to believe they can stay. He smiled. Even talk of bringing in a school teacher. For the kids. That's good, Grace said. It is. And it's because of you. Whether you accept it or not. Before he left, Moses handed Grace a letter from Sarah. She's in California now, working at a hotel. Says she's happy. Wanted you to know. Grace took the letter. Didn't open it. Just held it, thank you. For coming all this way. Wasn't all that far. And besides, wanted to see for myself. See for myself that you were all right. Moses climbed onto the wagon. You take care, Grace. And if you need anything at all, Red Hollow hasn't forgotten you. He drove away, left Grace standing in the yard. Letter in hand, she waited until he was gone. Then opened it. Sarah's handwriting was careful, each word deliberate. Dear Grace, I'm writing from San Francisco. I made it. The journey was long and hard, but I'm here. I found work at a hotel. Nothing fancy, but it's honest work, and nobody here knows about Red Hollow, about what I was there. I can just be Sarah. Not Sarah the victim. Just Sarah. Asterisk, I think about you often. Wonder how you're doing. If you found peace. I hope you have. You told me once that you didn't do what you did for me, and I believe you, but it freed me anyway. Gave me the courage to leave, to try, so thank you, whether you want it or not. I hope someday you find what you're looking for. Whatever that is. Your friend, Sarah Grace, read it twice, then folded it carefully, placed it on the mantel. Next to John's a photograph, 2 pieces of her story, past and present, death and survival. She looked at John's face, at those kind eyes that would never look at her again. I'm trying, she told him. I'm really trying. Months turned to seasons. Summer faded to fall, fall to winter. Grace kept the ranch running, not thriving, but surviving. She planted crops, tended a small garden, bought a few chickens for eggs. Simple life, quiet life, the kind John had wanted. She rarely went to town. When she did, people nodded respectfully, gave her space, didn't ask questions. Word had spread about what happened in Red Hollow. About the widow who faced down Barrett Crow and lived. Stories had grown in the telling, made her into something she wasn't, a hero, a gunfighter, a legend. Grace hated it. She wasn't any of those things. She was just a woman who'd lost everything and decided to do something about it. But people needed their stories, needed to believe in something. So she let them have theirs, didn't correct, didn't explain, just lived her quiet life and tried to forget. One evening, sitting on the porch as the sun set, Grace realized something. She couldn't remember exactly what John's voice sounded like, the timbre, the exact tone. She remembered that it was gentle, kind, but the specifics had faded. It terrified her. Losing even that small piece of him, she went inside, found the photograph, stared at it, trying to make it speak, to hear his voice again, but it stayed silent, just an image, frozen in time. Grace sat down, the weight of it pressing on her chest, the reality that John was truly gone, not just dead, but fading, becoming memory instead of presence. She cried, hard, harder than she had in months, not for revenge anymore, not for justice, just for loss. Pure and simple. When she was done, she felt lighter, not better, but lighter. She placed the photograph back on the mantel, looked at it one more time. I'm going to be okay, she said. Not sure if she believed it, but needing to say it. It's going to take time, maybe years, but I hope, I'll be okay. The photograph didn't answer, but somehow that was enough. Spring came. Grace planted more than she had the year before, expanded the garden, bought 2 goats for milk. She even hired help, a young couple passing through, looking for work. She gave them room in the barn, meals, small wages. It was nice, having people around, voices other than her own. The woman Anna was quiet, good with animals. The man Thomas was handy, fixed things Grace had been putting off. They didn't ask about her past, didn't pry, just worked and ate, and talked about small things, normal things. One evening, sitting around the table after dinner, Anna asked, "What made you choose this place? It's so remote." Grace thought about how to answer. "My husband and I, we wanted somewhere peaceful, away from the world. Did you find it?" Anna asked. For a while, Grace looked out the window, at the darkening sky, but peace is hard to keep, especially when the world won't let you go. Thomas nodded, like he understood. "We've been running too, from debt. From mistakes, looking for a fresh start. Is this it? Your fresh start?" Grace asked. "Could be. If you'll have us," Thomas said. Grace considered. Having people around was good, but permanent was different. Permanent meant connection, meant caring, meant risking loss again. But maybe that was the point. Maybe you had to risk it. To really live, stay the season, Grace said. "We'll see how it goes." Thomas smiled. Anna did too, and for the first time in a long time, Grace smiled back. Summer came, the crops grew, the goats produced milk. Anna made cheese, Thomas built a new chicken coop. The ranch felt alive again, not the way it had with John, different, but alive. Grace found herself laughing sometimes, at Thomas's bad jokes, at Anna's dry observations, small moments. But real, she still visited John's grave, every week, brought flowers when they bloomed, told him about the ranch, about the progress, but the visits felt different now, less like obligation, more like remembrance. One day, while sitting by the grave, Grace spoke, "I think I'm ready to really live again. Not just survive." She pulled a weed growing near the cross. "It doesn't mean I've forgotten you or stopped loving you. Just means I've accepted that you're gone. And I'm still here." The wind rustled through the grass, gentle. Like an answer, Grace stood, brushed dirt from her dress. "I'm going to try to be happy again, to build something. I think you'd want that." She walked back to the house, didn't look back. Inside, Anna was making dinner. The smell of cooking filled the air, warm. "Inviting? Need help?" Grace asked. "Always," Anna said. They worked together, chopping vegetables, stirring pots, talking about nothing important, and in that moment Grace realized something. She was okay, not healed, not whole, but okay, and maybe that was enough. Years passed, the ranch grew. Grace hired more help, expanded operations, became known in the area as a fair boss. Hard worker, someone who kept her word. She never remarried, never wanted to. John had been her husband. That chapter was closed, but she built a life, a good life, different from what she'd imagined, but good. She heard news from Red Hollow occasionally. The town was thriving, had a school now, a proper sheriff, new businesses. Moses wrote sometimes, updates, checking in. The last letter mentioned a memorial for the people who'd died under Crow's rule. Grace's name was on it as someone who'd helped free the town. She didn't go to the dedication, didn't want the attention, didn't need the recognition. What she'd done in Red Hollow was for John, for herself, not for them, but she was glad they'd found peace, built something better. That was enough. On the 10th anniversary of John's death, Grace sat by his grave. She was older now, grey in her hair, lines on her face, life showing its marks. The wooden cross had been replaced with stone, simple, but permanent, carved with his name and the dates of his too short life. 10 years, Grace said. Can you believe it? Feels like yesterday. Feels like forever. She placed flowers on the grave. Wildflowers. The kind that grew around the ranch. The kind John had liked. The ranch is doing well. Better than we ever managed together. Funny how that works. She smiled. Sad but genuine. I think you'd be proud of what I've built, what I've become. A bird sang nearby. Clear, bright, full of life. I don't come as often as I used to, not because I love you less, but because I've learned to carry you differently, not as weight, as part of me, part of who I am. Grace stood, touched the stone. I miss you, always will, but I'm okay, really okay, and I hope that's what you'd want. She walked back to the ranch, to the life she'd built, to the people waiting for her, to the future. Whatever it held. That evening, sitting on the porch watching the sunset, Grace thought about her journey, from the scared woman hiding in the woods while her husband died, to the person who'd faced Barrett Crow and survived. It hadn't made her whole, hadn't fixed what was broke, but it had given her something. Closure, not in the Hollywood sense, not some perfect ending where everything was resolved, just the knowledge that she'd done what she could, finished what needed finishing, and then learned to live with what came after. The sun sank lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Grace pulled out the wooden carving Tommy had given her, all those years ago, the little horse, worn smooth from handling, from being carried, from being kept close, a reminder of Red Hollow, of what she'd done there, of the cost and the consequence. She didn't regret it, couldn't regret it. It was part of her now, but she didn't celebrate it either. It just was, like everything else. Part of the complicated tapestry of a life lived, lost, found again. The stars began to appear, one by one, filling the darkening sky. Grace sat, watched them emerge, felt the cool evening air on her skin. Somewhere in the distance a coyote called. Another answered, the desert night settling in. Ancient, patient, eternal. Grace closed her eyes, breathed deep, let the peace of the moment fill her, and for the first time in 10 years she felt something. Something she'd thought lost forever. Not happiness, exactly. Not joy, but contentment. Quiet, real. She opened her eyes, looked at the stars. Thank you, she whispered. To John, to the universe, to whatever force had carried her through. Then she stood, went inside, closed the door against the night. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, its own sorrows and small victories. But tonight was enough.